Hey there, all you beautiful Broadway babies. Welcome back to Broadway by Ghostlight. I'm Mark Bonanni, and this is episode 13 of Broadway Jeopardy. Lucky number 13.
13, something is coming. 13, something is blowing up. 13.
I probably just played a clip from 13 the musical, didn't I? Editing mark is so predictable. Thank you all so much for your wonderful comments and encouraging words. I'm thrilled to be bringing you a brand new episode of Broadway Jeopardy every Thursday starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure you're subscribed so you won't miss an episode. 26 all-new clues and 5 all-new categories, including the final Jeopardy round, await us this week, along with a very special guest. Let's get right to this week's game. This is Broadway Jeopardy! Taking a gander at this week's categories, we start off as always with last week's Final Jeopardy category, which was the best television show ever. And its creator, head writer, composer, and showrunner, the one and only Cinco Paul, is back as well, reading off a few clues in that category and showing off some amazing props from the show as well. The next category is Little by Little, looking at some shows and show tunes with the word little in the title. Then it's Bad Plot Descriptions. Like it sounds, I'll give you a brief bad plot description and you name the show. After that, it's 2008, looking at that year in musical theater history. And finally, we have $5 words. These are big academic words featured in songs from musicals. And of course, we finish out the game with the Final Jeopardy round. We start the game off in the $200 category, of course, the Overture round as I call it, where the questions skew towards the fairly easy side so that everyone can get some fake money on the board before I really start challenging you. Starting the game off with my favorite TV show Schmigadoon, here is the Schmigaman himself, Cinco Paul, with the $200 clue.
For season 2 of Schmigadoon, our leading couple Josh and Melissa make their way out of Schmigadoon and into this jazzy city.
What is Schmicago is the answer. From Schmigadoon, set in the world of 1940s and 50s musicals, to the fantastical Farrago of Schmicago, an homage to the musicals of the 1960s and 70s. Had season 3 happened, it seems we would have delved into the world of 80s and 90s musicals with Into the Schmoods. Oh, I'm still angry about that. We need a season 3. Apple TV Plus, you are on my list. Moving on to the Little by Little category, your $200 clue is, this Disney musical, based on the 1989 animated film, took Broadway audiences under the sea in 2007. What is The Little Mermaid, of course? I think one of my earliest memories is seeing it in theaters with my family. It's weird though, looking back on the film now as an adult, and I'm just like, no, young lady, you cannot go with this stranger up to be with the people. Now go to your stinking performance, you rehearse with your sisters, you're ruining the whole show. Anyways, I guess as you get older, you identify more with the Disney adults, you know, if they're still alive. Anyways, over at Bad Plot Descriptions, we have Girl with Skin Deformity Challenges City Leader. What is Wicked is the correct answer. I'm very psyched for the upcoming film version, though I don't really understand the need for 2 films, you know, besides the obvious reason to do 2 movies. Money, 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 money. Traveling back into the not-so-distant past to 2008, your clue is, this family musical, based on the animated film of the same name, took Ogre Broadway in 2008, starring Sutton Foster and Brian Darcy James. What is Shrek the Musical? Shrek is a show where the Broadway run was really a stepping stone to the show's final form. I think the creators and critics weren't totally sold on the show until the London run in 2011. The Addams Family is another one that sort of crystallized after its Broadway run. Finishing out the overture round with a $5 word, your $200 clue is, you can spray her wherever you figure the streptococci lurk is a lyric from Adelaide's Lament featured in this classic musical. What is Guys and Dolls is the right answer. That whole song is so brilliant and full of $5 words, actually.
You could spray her wherever you figure the streptococci lurk. You can give her a shot for whatever she's got, but it just won't work. If she's tired of getting that fisheye from the hotel clerk, a person can develop a cold.
I do hope you all conquered that first round and are ready for the only slightly harder $400 round. Taking the footbridge back to Schmigadoon, the $400 clue is, when Josh visits Schmicago's hippie commune, he's roped into a love fest in the song Everyone's Gotta Get Naked, certainly a parody of this groovy 1960s musical. What is Hair, of course? The song Everyone's Gotta Get Naked is so funny. Between the names from Grease being snuck in there in the beginning,
Ruby Wubba Nudie, Rizzo Chow Chow Doodie, Flooby Nooby Wiki, Zuko and Kaniki,
to the line, flowers don't wear pants, so why should we? I mean, it's so great. And it's always crazy to me how the nudity in Hair is one of the lasting things about it in the public consciousness, since it was such a brief, innocuous, dimly lit moment in the show originally, but, you know, boobies and
peepees and wee-wees.
The $400 clue in the Little by Little category is, in My Fair Lady, Eliza's father, Alfred P. Doolittle, sings that with this, you'll never need to work. What is With a Little Bit of Luck? One of my favorite productions I've ever seen was the 2001 revival of My Fair Lady in London's West End. I saw it with Jonathan Pryce and Joanna Riding, and one of my most vivid memories was during the song With a Little Bit of Luck, where the whole cast went full stomp and bang on trash cans and tap dance using trash can lids. It was so much fun. Next up in the bad plot descriptions category, the $400 clue is, unemployed men flash women for money. What is the Full Monty? Again, I think I said this the last time the Full Monty was an answer, but I just cannot believe there hasn't been a revival of this show, especially with all the Magic Mike craze not too long ago, and I think the movie Full Monty even has a sequel TV show right now, or at least recently. It baffles me. Remember, we already proved that all people really remember are
peepees and wee-wees.
The $400 clue for 2008 is, in Billy Elliot, young Billy finds his calling in the world of ballet, but first he took a jab at studying this sport. What is boxing? Yes, 11-year-old Billy stays late after boxing class one day to hand the studio keys over to the next occupants, a ballet class taught by Mrs. Wilkinson, and the rest, for Billy at least, is history. Although I guess it'd be Billy. Billy. Billy likes belly. Terrible.
I thought you were at boxing. You're in here messing about with lasses in tights.
Excuse me, I'm trying to teach a class here.
Shut it.
But it's healthy, man, Dad. It's just like sport.
Bally.
It's not just puffs that do ballet, you know.
The final $400 clue in the $5 words category is, in this song from The Sound of Music, a group of nuns describe our leading lady as a flibbertigibbet, among other things. What is How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria is the answer. Flibbertigibbet is a word meaning flighty or frivolous, and is definitely a word we should bring back into our modern vocabulary. I like it. Starting off the $600 round now, back at Schmigadoon, we have Cinco Paul reading you the clue. Take it away, Cinco.
Instead of a shaving razor, Sweeney Todd's stand-in Dooley Blight is never seen without this deadly weapon in Season 2 of Schmigadoon.
What is cleaver is the answer. Butcher knife is acceptable too, though, I think, if you said butcher knife. Here is Cinco showing off one of the actual prop cleavers from the show.
So this is the prop cleaver that Dooley Blight, played by Alan Cumming, used throughout Season 2. There were a couple of them. This is the safe one, which is made of rubber, plastic, because we didn't want to risk anyone being hurt. So in scenes where we absolutely knew no one was in danger, he would use the metal one, but otherwise he used this one. And you can see it wobbles a bit, and there were a couple of moments where it was visibly wobbling in the footage we'd gotten, and so we had to digitally lock it down a couple times. Another fun fact is that Alan Cumming is in fact a vegetarian, so none of the meat he worked on in the butcher shop that was chopping or moving around was actually meat. It was all fake, created by our fantastic props department.
The prop department on Schmigadoon is indeed brilliant. Check out my episode-by-episode breakdown for more fun props. The $600 clue for the Little by Little category is this Sondheim song, cut from the original company, has since been reinstated for most revivals and was also the title song of a popular two-person Sondheim revue. What is Marry Me a Little? The revue Marry Me a Little began off-Broadway in 1980. As originally written, it's a two-person revue with no dialogue about two lonely people in adjacent one-room apartments. The show is comprised mostly of cut songs from Sondheim shows, which is brilliant. Let's get a whole series of cut song reviews going. Moving on to the bad plot descriptions category, your $600 clue is national attack leads to unlikely friendships. What is Come From Away? Actually, that's a fairly succinct plot description now that I think about it, but oh well. Yes, Come From Away is the brilliant musical by Irene Sankoff and David Hein about the Newfoundland town of Gander and the events surrounding the September 11th attacks when 28 planes were diverted to the small town. There is a pro shot available on Apple TV+, still mad at you Apple TV+, but you should definitely go watch Come From Away if you haven't seen it. I highly recommend it. The $600 clue for the 2008 category is theater artist Stu put his own story of growing up and becoming a young artist on stage and set it all to music in this acclaimed autobiographical musical. What is Passing Strange is the answer. Another show with a pro shot, actually. In the musical, Stu himself was on stage as the sort of narrator figure. Daniel Breaker, who would go on to originate the role of Donkey in Shrek later that same year, played the no-name protagonist just called the Youth, as he leaves home to find his way in the world as an artist. It's a fascinating musical that was definitely in the Heights' biggest competition that year for Best Musical at the Tonys. Over in the $5 word category, the final $600 clue is, in this musical, you'll find the song My Psychopharmacologist and I. What is next to normal? While that's certainly a big clinical name, a psychopharmacologist is really just any doctor who prescribes psychotropic medication, which includes antidepressants, mood stabilizers, and that kind of thing. Okay, I think things have been fairly easy so far, I think. It's time to really turn up the heat with the $800 round now. But before we do, you know where this is going. Please, please, oh pretty please, take a hot second and hit that like button if you're enjoying this week's game. It really helps these videos in reaching more fine folks like yourselves, and you know, puts a little feather in my cap too. Thanks everyone, I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's grapevine over to Schmigadoon. The $800 clue is, in season 1 of the show, this is the beverage that Melissa drinks a little too much of at the picnic basket auction before waking up in bad boy Danny Bailey's bed. What is Gentleman's Punch is the correct answer. One of the many brilliant send-ups of 1940s and 50s misogyny in musicals, and in the world really at that time.
Oh, you're not gonna want to drink that, Missy. That there's the Gentleman's Punch Bowl. It's got alcohol in it.
Oh. Thank you for the warning, Larry the Fireman.
And after imbibing too much punch, Melissa has a one-night stand with Danny Bailey.
Damn Gentleman's Punch.
The $800 clue for Little by Little is the Daily Double! I'm going to try to have at least one Daily Double per game, I think. Remember, a little different than regular Jeopardy! Answer part 1, you get the $800 for today. Answer part 2, and you win 1,600 fake dollars. Here's your clues. In the musical Bells Are Ringing, gangsters plan to use a phone answering service to run an illegal gambling ring, which they lay out the details for in this song. For double points, this is the name of the answering service our leading lady works for. What is It's a Simple Little System is the answer to part 1, and what is Suzanne's Phone is the answer to part 2. In Bells Are Ringing, the 1960 Julie Stein, Betty Comden, and Adolph Green musical, our leading lady Ella works for Suzanne's Phone, a phone answering service run by a woman named Sue, naturally. Gangsters attempt to use the service for gambling by pretending to be record shop owners and placing orders for various symphonies, which is code. The plan is thwarted when someone orders Beethoven's 10th Symphony, which does not exist, and that tips off the whole operation.
We will take those record orders in a very cultured tone while we're really booking horses over at Suzanne's phone.
Moving on to the bad plot descriptions category, the $800 clue is fast food worker saves town from volcano. What is SpongeBob SquarePants is the answer, or SpongeBob the Musical, I guess, as it's now called. SpongeBob works at the Krusty Krab, of course, and he and his squirrel friend, Sandy Cheeks, do indeed save the town of Bikini Bottom from a volcano in the show. Let's get a rare non-musical answer over at the 2008 category. The $800 clue is this play, based on the classic Alfred Hitchcock film of the same name, turned a heart-pounding thriller into a laugh riot with a cast of 4 playing all roles. What is The 39 Steps is the correct answer. I loved that show, saw it twice. As I mentioned, the play is based on the classic 1935 Hitchcock film, The 39 Steps, about a man who is mistakenly accused of murder and must clear his name while stopping the spy organization called The 39 Steps. For Broadway, it was adapted by Patrick Barlow into a hilarious 4-person laugh fest, mixing mystery with physical comedy. Let's finish off the $800 round with a big ol' $5 word. Your clue is, this German word meaning pleasure derived from another person's misfortune gets its own song in the Tony-winning Avenue Q. What is Schadenfreude is the right answer. Leave it to the Germans to come up with a word about taking pleasure from others' misfortunes. And leave it up to Avenue Q to make a whole song about it. Yee honk, we have reached the apex of today's game. The big show, the main event. It's the $1,000 round. Let's hear that dramatic music. Good luck, everyone. We start the round off with one last trip to Schmigadoon, and here is Cinco Paul with your $1,000 clue.
In the very beginning of Season 1, Josh and Melissa are tasked with caring for these small items, which both will lose and find again during their stay in Schmigadoon.
What are stone hearts is the answer. Josh and Melissa, played by the brilliant Keegan-Michael Key and Cecily Strong, go on a couples retreat and are given stone hearts with each other's names on them. Here's Cinco with those props.
These are the actual heart-shaped stones that Keegan and Cecily used during season 1 of Schmigadoon. It's very helpful as a writer to have a prop that you can use as a symbol of something. So when Melissa's done with Josh, she hurls his stone into the woods, and then later when we're trying to bring the two of them back together, the heart-shaped stones reappear. I had heart-shaped stones with each character's name placed on them, made for every member of the cast as my going away present at the end of production of season 1. And then Cecily, bless her heart, made a heart-shaped stone for me. It says Cinco number 1 on one side and Schmigadoon 2020 on the other.
I have one more amazing clip with Cinco sharing another great prop I'll share with you at the end of the game as a nice reward for finishing the video. You know, I gotta leverage these celebrity appearances as best I can. Up next, in the Little by Little category, your $1,000 clue is this Alan J. Lerner Charles Strauss musical, based on the play and film Idiot's Delight, lasted only a single night on Broadway in 1983. What is Dance a Little Closer? That was a toughie. If you got that one right, you're probably a bona fide flop junkie like me. The musical is about a group of vacationers on New Year's Eve at an alpine ski resort who find themselves in the midst of a potential nuclear disaster. Word of mouth was not good on the show, and theaterites dubbed Dance a Little Closer, Close a Little Faster. And it did. After 25 previews, the show closed on its opening night. Let's get one more bad plot description. The $1,000 clue is old farmer catfishes young woman. What is The Most Happy Fella is the answer. The musical, with an absolutely gorgeous score by Frank Lesser, deals with older Tony, who begins a love affair via mail with a woman Tony calls Rosabella. When she asks for a picture, he panics and sends one of his friend, the dashing young Joe. And of course, the plot thickens from there. Encores did an especially sumptuous revival with Laura Benanti, Shuler Hensley, and Cheyenne Jackson in 2014 that still to this day, over 10 years later, I am bitterly angry that it was not recorded. So mad. They're on my list too. Alright, our final time going back to 2008 gives us the $1,000 clue. This musical featured Faith Prince, Tom Wopat, Leslie Kritzer, and Harvey Fierstein, who also wrote the book based on Paddy Chayefsky's original 1955 teleplay. What is A Catered Affair? I really liked A Catered Affair. It's a shame it really hasn't lived on, at least regionally. It's a small, intimate musical about a family living in New York City in the 1950s as they deal with life. The score is by John Bucchino, his first and so far only Broadway musical outing.
You know how it goes, you invite one uncle, then you have to ask them all. Then the cousins and the friends and the neighbors and the dates, and the list grows and grows.
I'm not invited.
Wrapping up the main game over in the $5 word category, the $1,000 clue is this is the word that Spelling Bee host Rona Lisa Peretti won with when she competed in the annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. What is syzygy? As the show puts it, syzygy means when the earth aligns with the moon and the sun. The 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee is the 9th that Rona Lisa Peretti has hosted, and it was the 3rd annual Spelling Bee that Rona previously won. On Broadway, the role was originated by the wonderful Lisa Howard. We've reached the final Jeopardy round, everyone! Tally up your scores and decide how confident you feel with the category New Jersey. Will you bet big or stash your cash? Everyone ready? Wayne? Lowry? Chris and Aaron? Okay, here is your final clue. In Jersey Boys, this real-life future movie star is instrumental in the formation of the Four Seasons. Who is Joe Pesci is the answer. Yes, Joe Pesci, the star of many amazing films like Goodfellas, Home Alone, and one of my all-time favorites, My Cousin Vinny, helped create the Four Seasons. Pesci introduced two of his friends to each other, Tommy DeVito and Bob Gaudio, and the rest is history. And that's this week's game! Congratulations, everyone! How did you all do? Did you enjoy the ride, or did it give you tribulation? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. I absolutely love seeing how you all did. A gigantic, huge thank you
Those are the same thing.
to Cinco Paul for being a guest on this week's game. There's still that other clip of him I haven't forgotten, but really quick, I have to thank the incredible patrons over on Patreon. You guys are my heart-shaped rocks. There'll be a patron chosen category in an upcoming episode, so if you want to get in on that, there is a link to my Patreon in the description. And I'm so happy to put the work in on these videos and bring them to you every week, but I just wish we could get a few more people to watch them. If you enjoy these videos, please share them with everybody and hit that like button and subscribe button and all that jazz. Make sure and follow me on the socials, blah, blah, blah. Get to the Cinco clip, I hear you saying. All right, here you go.
So one more prop I'd like to share is the character cards that Melissa made when she and Josh were trying to figure out how to bring happiness back to Chicago. So you've got Codwell, Dooley, Kratt, Frau, Rivera, Bobby, Topher, and Jenny. I loved these so much, I said, I have to bring these home.
Big thanks to those that stuck around until the very, very end. You guys are my favorites. Shh, don't tell the others. Until next week, I'm Mark Bonanni. This is Broadway by Ghostlight. Thanks for playing.
Sorry, Pete.